Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting round of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How have you all been doing, everyone? And also, may I just say, congratulations to you all. We have made it to the first half of, or we've officially crossed the first half of 2023. Welcome to the second half of the year, and I hope that so far the first half of the year has been going pretty well for you. I know that it has definitely been for me, so hopefully we will go and wrap up the second half very well, that we got something rolling strongly, and then we're going to continue forward full force with what we want to do. And also, I would just like to go and say that even though it is no longer Pride Month, we have entered into July, that doesn't mean that our support for the LGBTQ plus community should stop. We shouldn't go and immediately cease because, like, oh, we'll only save our Pride support for that 1 month. No. That thing should be 365 a year. That no matter what, our love and our support for the LGBTQ plus community and our push to criminalize homophobia, transphobia, and all forms of hate speech will continue to thrive. So just want to go and make that immediate statement right there. But at the same time, though, I do want to go and make one major announcement, because in the past week, I decided to be a little bit like Elsa when she opened the gates to the kingdom of Arendelle in Frozen, where for the first time in forever, I did something that honestly many people forgot about, but yes, it is indeed a thing. I have actually added some new merch to the AniMat's gift shop. Yes, I decided to go and add some new designs and some new merch, where not only where you can go and get some new apparel, including t-shirts and hoodies, but you can also get some new hats as well. You can get it based on the all-new Electric Dragon Productions logo, or just the logo's head, or even you can actually get this new design of me with the phrase that I always say on my reviews, "Let's find out." So you can actually go and get them right now at AniMat's gift shop. But wait, hold on a sec. To go and mark this very special occasion that I added some new stuff on my gift shop, I would like to go and announce a promo code that comes with it, where throughout the month of July, you can use the promo code ANIMAT20, which is capital A-N-I, capital M-A-T 20, and you can receive 20% off your next purchase, and that will be all across the month of July. So after this podcast, I will go and make a public announcement on my social media. So if you want to go and check out what new merch I have in store, including all new shirts and even hats, then all you have to do is go to animats-gift-shop.creator-spring.com. So I'd just like to go and make a little bit of that public announcement. So with that said and done, I believe now it is time that we can go and begin our show. So I would like to go and ask the chat wall, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Yeah! Are you all prepared for this? I hear KS19 is all ready. That is great to hear. Anyone else is prepared? Anyone else is ready? Let's see. Oh, I definitely see the chat wall is all set and prepared. That is great to see. And now, with that said and done, I believe that it is time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we have for you today, we're going to go and begin with a trailer. And it's funny that we are seeing more and more TV reboots going on, especially in the animation sector, where even recently this year, we saw the comeback of Clone High, and it turned out to be way better than what the trailers seem to insinuate that it could be. A lot of people are really enjoying that. A lot of people are having fun with it. But now there is another show that is having a massive comeback. Technically not the first time that they're having a reboot or another new season going on, but it is going to be quite a welcoming return onto Hulu. So with that said, let's go ahead and begin with our first trailer as we shall take a look onto the new season of Futurama.
Welcome to your new home.
And that is Futurama, the brand new season that is going to be coming back on Hulu starting July 24th. And I gotta say, judging from what we have seen, now, I'm not gonna go and say that I'm like the biggest Futurama fan. Like, I have yet to go and watch all of the episodes, but I have seen a good chunk of them. And I mean, I definitely seen a lot of some of their best moments. So, like, when the show is great, it can be very top notch. And from what I could tell from this trailer, I must say that I'm actually quite impressed. Like, it really does feel like we are getting the return of Futurama. And let me just say, thank God that we have averted that massive drama with not having John DiMaggio back as Bender and a few other characters as well, because yeah, like you can definitely hear that same spirit of the original show has returned, that like they did bring back the same crew to go and develop this entire series, like not just with the cast, but also the same people who have worked on the show for quite a long time. Like you can tell that it has that same sense of humor, that same spirit of it, and even the characters all feel the same, especially Fry and Bender having some significant moments here. Except you could tell that there is a significant update, and that now they want to do a bit more of some social commentary regarding some recent events that have occurred. Like one great example is that obviously there's going to be a COVID episode where we actually see like a satirical take on the Q-tips, like or the COVID test right over here.
You jam this Q-tip up your nose.
That looks kind of fun. I can't wait to do it hundreds of times.
Like, I gotta admit, that is funny, because often those COVID tests, like, that's how they often feel. Like, when you have to jam those things up your nose, like, it sucks. Oh my god, it's especially the worst when you have a cold or, like, you have some kind of sinus infection, because trust me, like, whenever I had to take a COVID test, it's always during the worst times when, like, they demand that, okay, take this Q-tip, shove it up your nose when it's at its most sensitive and when it's at its most painful. You know, honestly, like, for me, it always sucks whenever I have to go and take a COVID test. And often that, like, when you try to shove it up there, that's what it often feels like. That's what they often demand you to try to go and do. And there was and by the way, just a side note, there was one time that they asked me to do like just a little throat test, but it was during a time when I had a tonsil infection, so that was painful as well. So like whenever I've been asked to have a COVID test, it's always the worst of luck. You know, it's always at the worst time where it feels the most painful. But then again, like, this is not about me. This is about Futurama. And they're, you know, like, it's obvious they're going to have a COVID episode. But apparently there's also going to be a crypto episode where, like, you got all these robots that are in the Wild West. So they're also going to go and have a take on the whole crypto fad and, like, some of the big problems that happen with crypto, despite the fact that nowadays, while it's not completely dead, it's no longer as popular as it used to be. But they're still going to have a bit of a hot take where they're going to present it as the Old West. And then, of course, like, you got a whole bunch of other comedic moments. I think, like, the funniest times for me are like the moment when they're, oh god, I clicked at the worst time. I just realized it's like, oh god, we're getting that cursed image of forward-facing Fry. No, thank you. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Like, we got the joke, like, where we got Fry having a flat butt. Or another great moment is like with the little burrow that's trying to dig from the ground. That is definitely cute. Or even the last joke where you see Fry and oh crap, I am so sorry, guys, but the name suddenly escapes me. Like, oh crap, Leela, thank you, yeah, Fry and Leela, they're making out, and then suddenly their Alexa or their Google Home, like, they're just suggesting some little pleasurable things to heaten up the mood. So I guess there's also going to be another episode where they're going to be discussing about those devices, like with the Google Homes or with the Alexas, where they know a little bit too much about your personal life and they can recommend you things that, it's a little bit too much of a coincidence. But yeah, other than that though, I gotta say, like, with everything else, there's not much that I could really go and comment, because it really does feel like they really want to stay true to how Futurama was. It's not like with Animaniacs where there is like a massive distinct difference to how the show was made back then and how the show is made now. Like, even like with how the technology has significantly evolved over the years in terms of producing animation, you could tell that, like, it's just the same thing throughout. Like, this feels no different than some of the past seasons. Like, this is exactly like how it was before. It's almost as if Futurama never really left. I'm sure there's going to be some moments where they're going to have like some upgrades in terms of what they can do with the animation. Like, a good example is what they are presenting here with the Dune-like worm. But other than that, though, I feel like this is the same Futurama that we all know and love, especially in terms of the animation. So, admittedly, maybe I don't necessarily have a whole lot to go and comment here, but it's hard to find anything else that I personally feel like might be a bit of a setback, because I feel like this trailer actually did very well into selling us what they are promising with this new season, is that they are bringing back Futurama, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're going to bring back Futurama. They're going to update some of the topics that they want to go and talk about, but it is with the same ragtag crew that we all know and love. So personally, I'm definitely optimistic about this one. I can't wait to see how it's going to go with the new season and how some of the reactions are going to be, because so far a lot of these like comebacks and reboots and stuff like that, whenever it's with like the original people that are involved, they usually have great results. And we have already seen that with Clone High. So hopefully we will see the same thing with Futurama, especially, like I said before, not only the same cast, but the same crew has returned to this. So hopefully it will lead to some great results, and hopefully it will lead to more great seasons of Futurama. So if you are excited to see the grand return of Fry and his space crew coming back onto Hulu, then keep in mind that the show will be having its new season on July 24th. Or if you are not in a country that has Hulu like myself, then just keep an eye out on Disney Plus, where they are going to go and release the new Futurama episodes. Yes, I can guarantee you that at least in Canada, you can actually go and watch all the seasons of Futurama onto Disney Plus, just letting you know. So with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and it's time that I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about this new trailer of Futurama? Are you all excited for this? Do you have any concerns that maybe this threw you off a little bit? And especially if you are a fan of Futurama, I would love to know your opinions on what we have just seen. Let's see what we got here. This trailer looks really impressive. Personally, I haven't watched much of Futurama. I am aware it definitely has a huge fan base. If this looks like it could capture the spirit of the original, the humor is great, and I'm really happy that the original cast has returned. So overall, this has potential and definitely feels like a great comeback for Futurama. Oh, now we got a Futurama comment here. As a Futurama fan, I'm so glad to see that not only is it still as funny, but the new commentaries are really clever, such as with the cotton swabs and the crypto and the Dune sandworm. I don't know all of them. Plus, I'm glad John DiMaggio is back as Bender, so overall, to quote Fry himself, whose leg do you have to hump to get a dry martini around here? Wait a minute, that was said by Flanders on South Park. Yeah, you're close. Close enough. Let's see now. Futurama is coming back again. And I couldn't be happier. I can't wait to see more of the comically surreal 31st century making fun of the depressingly surreal 21st century. The animation looks just as good as it did during the show's last reboot. Also, Leela as a cowboy was something I didn't know I need until I got it. The bartender certainly seems smitten with her. Well, yeah, I mean, like, she did offer a job immediately, so, I mean, it all works out. Oh, let's see now, oh, okay, let's see. As someone who prefers it over The Simpsons, Futurama coming back is definitely going to be a treat, especially since the last time we saw the characters was in a crossover with their yellow companions. Yeah, definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe, like, they mainly did that in the comics, right? I don't think it's like a full-on episode where they did a crossover, or like maybe they had some cameos or something, but I do remember there was like a big, you know, it was like a big thing with the comics that The Simpsons and Futurama like are collaborating together on something. That I do recall. Let's see. What? Oh, no, it was apparently actually it was an episode. Well, I guess that really does explain it. It really does go to show that I'm like way out of it in terms of like what's going on with The Simpsons. If it doesn't involve the Treehouse of Horrors, then I don't know what the fridge is going on. But this is not slamming The Simpsons, of course. I'm just personally out of it. I have heard like the newer seasons are definitely so much better, and maybe I should consider coming back to it, or at least like when this next season comes later on. Anyways, while I'm not a huge Futurama fan, I have seen a good majority of the episodes I really do like of the show. This trailer definitely feels like it has the same spirit as before. The animation is great, the characters and voice acting is great, and the humor is hilarious as before. I'm definitely checking it out when it comes out on my birthday. Oh, what great timing there. Let's see. Huge Futurama fan here. I am super hyped about this new season. My first introduction to the show wasn't with Fox, but with Adult Swim when I was young. Ever since I became obsessed with the show, and I was like, this style looks familiar. Then I realized that it was the same people that made The Simpsons. Yeah, I know that it's hard to tell because, like, all the characters have, like, more natural colored skin than, like, the usual yellow and stuff like that. But the real big tell is basically that upper lip. When they have when they have that large overbite, that pretty much tells you that, yeah, this is from Matt Groening, of course. Let's see, what other comments do we have over here? Anyone else has anything to say that I could read? Okay, I think I'll just read one more. All right, let's see. The idiotic show for Brainiacs is back. Can't wait to see that every show needs to live on forever until the entire cast passes away. This is the show. Futurama is like a cultural institution at this point, just like The Simpsons. Never die, never die, never die. Definitely go to PS. Also glad that all the drama has been taken care of. Because they don't get the original voice back / writers. Then this show would have been doomed from the start. Oh, absolutely. It definitely would have. All right, so with that said, we are going to go on to our first break now. And when we do return, we are going to go and discuss what is currently going on at the box office. Because let me tell you, things have been going very interesting. And suddenly a bit of a turn of events because, yeah, if you thought DreamWorks was having like some kind of massive comeback in terms of the quality of their films, like with the Bad Guys or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, well, at least financially, it's not showing with their new movie. And welcome back. And you know, now come to think of it, I think I should have said, like, in terms of the success of the DreamWorks movies. I don't mean like the quality of the films, because I know that's all based on personal opinion. So apologies for that little slip up right over there. I should have just focused on like the financial success of those movies. But anyways, as I was saying, when it comes to our next story, it kind of feels funny to go and reflect back onto the recent trend that you've probably seen on social media. Chances are, like, if you go on Facebook or on Twitter or especially on YouTube or whatever, you would often see a bit of a meme going on where you see all these Disney haters like really bashing Disney for the new movies that they have done that ended up becoming box office flops, in contrast to how Universal has been doing. Like that has been the trend for quite a while, at least ever since 2022 and going on up to right now, where they always say that, oh, Universal is better than Disney in animation. And they would always go and compare how movies like Lightyear, Strange World, and even right now with Elemental not doing so hot, where they end up becoming box office bombs, where in contrast, Universal has made some of the most successful animated films in recent years, such as The Bad Guys, Minions: The Rise of Gru, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Well, I think it is safe to say that after this weekend, all those memes bashing Disney and hating them for not being as successful as Universal, I think it is safe to say that, oh boy, they have aged poorly, and all those Disney haters took a massive L for all those memes. And that is especially because of Ruby Gillman. Yes, this weekend at the box office, the newest animated feature from DreamWorks Animation and one of the latest animated films that have been released, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, opened up at the box office and really not doing well. To which it started off in 6th place with $5.2 million. And no, this is not just for one day, that is the entire weekend in terms of how it did. Now, it is safe to say that everyone expected that it would not do as well as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, in which even that one, many people are saying that it is a bit iffy with how it starts off with just $60 million. But at the same time, there are plenty of other features that still performed better than Ruby Gillman, including Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Elemental, No Hard Feelings, and Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Now, I know that those Disney haters, they are coping hard and trying to say that, well, at least it's better than The Little Mermaid. It still did better than The Little Mermaid. See, Ruby Gillman is in 6th place and The Little Mermaid is in 7th. See, Universal is still winning. No, okay. That is honestly a real bad example and a real desperate attempt of coping. Because let me just explain something. When it comes to the live action remake of The Little Mermaid, number one, yes, it didn't make as much as Ruby Gillman, but it almost did the same amount, where it only made $50,000 less. Where The Little Mermaid opened with, where The Little Mermaid this weekend made $5.15 million. So honestly, Ruby Gillman and The Little Mermaid were pretty equal this weekend. And on top of that, you gotta keep in mind with The Little Mermaid, it's over a month old. Like, this is a movie that is on its 6th box office weekend. So honestly, the fact that Ruby Gillman, a new movie, pretty much did about as well as a blockbuster film that has been in theaters for 6 weeks now, it's not a good look whatsoever. And on top of that, the thing with this opening for Ruby Gillman, unfortunately, it also resulted in a new record, and a shameful record, unfortunately, because now it has officially broken the record as the worst opening weekend ever for a DreamWorks animation movie. Like, if you go in this chart over here, on my source on Box Office Mojo, if you go down, like, I sorted this out by greatest to the least greatest in terms of how much it did on its opening weekend, with the best being Shrek the Third. If you go down and you don't count any of the re-releases, the one who previously had the record was 2021 Spirit Untamed, to which it opened with just $6.1 million. And some people would go and argue that the reason why it had such a low opening was because it started off during the middle of the pandemic, where Ruby Gillman, on the other hand, doesn't necessarily have much of an excuse. And as I am recording this right now, Ruby Gillman has so far a domestic total of, as I said before, 5.2 million, an international total of 7.57 million, which creates a worldwide total of $12.77 million. So yeah, it's looking pretty bad for Ruby Gillman. And especially with the fact that technically the animated feature has a budget of approximately, or what's been reported, at $70 million. So I think it is safe to say that if Ruby Gillman would ever make its money back, it's definitely not going to be through the box office, because I think it is safe to say that, well, sadly, it is a box office bomb. But what the fridge happened here? Why is it that Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken ended up becoming such a massive box office bomb, or the biggest animated bomb of the year, where people would just focus their energy on Elemental, thinking that it's already such a massive financial disaster for Disney and Pixar, and yet Ruby Gillman has done so much worse. In fact, even looking at the numbers right over here, Elemental, on its third weekend, has made more than double than what Ruby Gillman started out. So where did it go wrong exactly? Well, I will go and tell you, and yes, a lot of people know it, it's because of the marketing. But before I actually go into the marketing, let me go and discuss about another thing that is actually clearly obvious as to why it failed, and it is mainly because of the release date itself and the fact that there's just way too much competition going on. Now, I will say, in Universal's defense, I do understand why they picked that release date, because during the end of June and the start of July, around that time, that's usually a great time for Universal to go and release an Illumination film. In fact, they kind of made a bit of a tradition of that, especially with the Despicable Me movies, the Minions films, and the Secret Life of Pets features. They have all found tremendous success during that time frame. But this year, however, they shifted their schedule where they got 2 Illumination movies, but one was released in April with the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then there's going to be another one coming in December with Migration. So they decided, you know what, we got a DreamWorks movie that we could go and place right in the middle, right over there. However, what they did not account for was that, considering that it was going to be released in the summer, it's also one of the most competitive summers that we've had in quite a long time. And it is surrounded with not just competition, but direct competition as well. I mean, take a look at this. Like, even in terms of like the target audience that it wants to directly go after, it still has to go and fight against Elemental and The Little Mermaid, and debatably even Across the Spider-Verse, since that also counts as an animated feature. But then you also have all those other movies that also feature very prominent names, and that they're from major franchises, such as Indiana Jones, and then you also got Transformers, and then you got Jennifer Lewis with Jennifer Lawrence. Sorry, wrong Jennifer. You got Jennifer Lawrence with No Hard Feelings. There's just too much competition going on. And not to mention that Netflix added salt to the open wound with Nimona, taking the attention away from animation fans to go and release their movie on the exact same day as Ruby Gillman onto Netflix. So you know that, especially with animation fans who would be a prime target to really go and hype things up for Ruby Gillman, that they would go and, like, they know that Nimona would be like a higher priority, especially with the hype that went behind it, more so than Ruby Gillman. So already there was just way too much competition, to the point that it makes it a little too easy for Ruby Gillman to go and get overshadowed. And some people could say that Universal kind of did that on purpose, especially putting it on the same day as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, to which no matter what, everyone knew that it would go and immediately be at #1 at the box office, where with Ruby Gillman, like, they'll just sneak it in over there, and like hopefully no one will notice that they release a new animated feature, or especially one from DreamWorks Animation. But then you got the other reason, and that is the one that a lot of people are immediately assuming, and that they are correct on, which is the marketing. Now, this was something that I knew ever since the very beginning, where something doesn't seem that right. And that is the amount of time that Universal would go and market this feature. Because you gotta keep in mind that when it comes to Ruby Gillman, they officially announced this project in mid-March. And yes, I do mean this mid-March, which only gives them 3.5 months to go and fully market the feature, to go and fully present it to the world, and to try to accumulate hype. Now, I know technically there was a little bit of an announcement beforehand that DreamWorks was doing some kind of project like this. It was originally called Meet the Gillmans, but that was just one little announcement that they made back in 2021. Ever since then, we've heard nothing about it until 2023, when suddenly they made the reveal about Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. And that's always something that feels awfully suspicious, when a major studio would give little time to go and actually promote Ruby Gillman. And that's not even to mention the amount of quantity in terms of how much they would go and try to keep on promoting Ruby Gillman. They barely even did much. I'm not saying that they did nothing, but there really wasn't a whole lot that they would go, especially when compared to the promotion that they have done for films like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or even The Bad Guys. They barely did anything at all. Which honestly does bring me to my next point in where they really went wrong with the marketing of Ruby Gillman, and that is in terms of the marketing itself. And this was honestly something that I realized while I was working on my review of Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, since I was using the trailers and some of the promos to go and work on the actual review itself, using it as clips and stuff like that. And I realized that the marketing itself is actually terrible. Like, this really is the kind that I wouldn't be surprised that the people working at DreamWorks Animation, they're just pulling their hair in terms of what they have actually done with the marketing. Because a lot of people have already said that it really does feel like this is one of those trailers that pretty much lays out the entire movie right in front of you. But no, this is actually a case that I realize it's much worse than you see them, because not only do they present the entire feature in those like 2.5 minutes, but they also spoiled some crucial moments in the feature that was supposed to be a secret in the first place. And the biggest proof of that is actually in regards to Chelsea. Like, you know that mermaid girl that some people on the internet would go and simp for? Because if you have seen the trailers of Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, then you know that they would keep presenting her as the villain. Like, they really emphasize that mermaids are the bad guys of all this, that krakens are good and that mermaids are bad, like especially at this part.
Hungry and dangerous creature of all.
The mermaid?
Yes, the mermaid!
Like, they really tried hard to try to present her as a villain, especially, or really antagonizing mermaids in the first place. And even with Chelsea, like, there is no secret that she is the bad guy of them all, that you shouldn't be trusting her. And there's even at one point, like, you see when she is all evil, like, you see her with the trident in this intimidating pose, and then at the end, you get the big climactic battle. Like, you see Chelsea in her final, like, bad, in her ultimate form as, like, a giant sea monster. And then they would keep on promising that, and at the end, you would get this big climactic battle of Ruby as a giant kraken versus Chelsea as this mermaid monster. Like, you all remember this moment right over here in the trailers. Like, they keep prominently presenting that again and again and again. But here is the insane thing about all this. And this is the big reason why the trailers really screwed up in terms of presenting Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. Because, okay, I might end up going into some spoiler territory, but the truth is, considering we already know that Chelsea is a villain, but the thing is, in the movie, she wasn't any ordinary villain. She was supposed to be a plot twist villain. Like, I kid you not, that was supposed to be a component that we didn't know that Chelsea was the bad guy the whole time. Like, for a good chunk of the feature film, and those who have seen Ruby Gillman can vouch for me on it, like, for a good while, until around the third act, or until, like, around the climax, like, they presented Chelsea wanting to be friends with Ruby Gillman. Like, they want to be good buds, but then suddenly it's like, oh, suddenly she reveals her true intentions and she's actually a bad guy. Now, granted, in my opinion, the writing on Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken wasn't even good in the first place, and that, like, the way they try to present her as, like, a plot twist villain is honestly very sloppy, but then again, that's just my personal opinion on that. But the fact alone that they keep presenting Chelsea as the villain when it's supposed to be a massive surprise that they should go and keep on Ruby Gillman in the first place is honestly ridiculous. And it really shows how much Universal just doesn't care or doesn't even know how they would go and properly promote Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. Because I think, honestly, even this entire climactic battle at the end, like, as cool as it is, and I'll even admit it's definitely one of the better parts or even the best part of the feature, it's just, like, that's not supposed to be shown. That was supposed to be a big surprise that they are supposed to go and keep. It's honestly ridiculous that they would have to go and reveal this massive plot twist. Like, Universal honestly really messed up there. So honestly, with those combining factors of the release date, of the little marketing that they have done, and the marketing themselves are pretty awful to hide any secrets, or pretty much are pretty awful in terms of exposing everything that's going on in the feature film, it ultimately resulted in Ruby Gillman to be such a low priority to go and see on the big screen. In fact, you probably heard many people who have watched it, they have, there's a very good chance that they would say that they have seen it in an empty theater, that they were literally the only ones who went to watch Ruby Gillman. Now, I will admit, I went to go see Ruby Gillman last week on a Thursday afternoon, and there was, like, I wouldn't say a lot of people, I wouldn't say it's empty, but there were, like, a few, I would say, like, maybe 6 or 7 others, or maybe even 8, that watched it with me in that theater. Like, random strangers, of course, but, like, just to give you an idea of how it was during my screening. But yeah, they keep, like, that is a major thing. That is a massive problem. It's the fact that with Ruby Gillman, it became such a low priority that not many people were immediately interested to go and jump to the opportunity to go and watch that film on the big screen. And not to mention, there's also another thing that I want to go and include, is that with Ruby Gillman, there's not as much positive word of mouth that did come out of it, because I do recall 2 weeks ago, Regal Cinemas actually did a surprise screening where they decided to do, like, this mystery movie thing. And as it turns out, it was actually Ruby Gillman, in which they presented it very early for audiences. And from what I've seen, like, the general reaction from people who did come out of it, I honestly said that I have honestly seen that, like, at the most, people were just saying that it was okay. Like, the general rating of it that people would go and deliver, it's either around 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, and that's it. So there wasn't much hype, like, I get why they want to do that, because they previously did that with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which really did work out very well, and they were hoping that they would do the same kind of the same kind of thing for Ruby Gillman, but it didn't really work out as well, because the hype wasn't necessarily as prominent, or the word of mouth wasn't as positive as Elemental per se. I mean, like, you look at how Elemental is doing right now, sure, there's a high chance that it's not going to go and make its money back through the box office alone. And it is true that, it had a pretty bad opening, but still, though, the fact that it still went and it's still holding on pretty strong, where it's doing about the same as Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in terms of the progression at the box office. Like, honestly, it's massively impressive. And now there is a very high chance that, at the very least, Elemental could actually surpass The Flash in terms of how much it would accumulate at the box office. So honestly, there could be a bit of a happy ending for Elemental where, thanks to the positive word of mouth, could end up becoming a sleeper hit. But unfortunately, I don't know if I could really say the same right now with Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. Like, it's going to be extremely difficult to imagine if there's going to be a chance that by the next weekend, suddenly it will accumulate more money, or that it would gather even more positive word of mouth so that it could be sustainable at the box office. So honestly, it's just like with all these combining factors, and primarily with the marketing, why it ended up becoming such a box office bomb. Or at this point, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of hope for Ruby Gillman in terms of how it would do in the box office. But I will state this, because I know that there are some people who did enjoy Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, and that they were a bit disappointed that, well, it turns out to be what is possibly the biggest animated box office bomb of 2023, even when compared to something like Elemental. But I just want to go and state this right now. Just because a movie did not perform well on its initial release in theaters, that does not necessarily mean that it's immediately over for the feature. Because you never know what the future holds, and you never know if suddenly a newfound audience is going to be discovered for these feature films. And I mean, keep in mind, Ruby Gillman is made by DreamWorks Animation, and DreamWorks does have a history with movies that barely perform much at the box office, or some of them could even be box office bombs, but later on they would become cult favorites. That's what happened with The Road to El Dorado. That's what happened to Rise of the Guardians. That's what happened to Captain Underpants, and there is a chance that it could happen with Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. And I could even say the same thing with the Disney movies. I mean, sure, people are laughing at Disney and Pixar because their movies are bombing, but you never know if in 10 years from now that those movies that are bombing, they could end up getting the same social status that that Treasure Planet and Atlantis have right now. That films like Lightyear, Strange World, and even Elemental could become some brand new favorites for audiences, that they'll look back fondly of it, and suddenly it would find its newfound fame from there. You never know in the future in which a movie can become a bomb now, but then could later become a massive cult favorite. We have seen this several times in the history of cinema, or even especially with animation. Like, this is not to mention some of the others, like especially with Iron Giant or The Secret of NIMH and stuff like that. So I just want to give you all a little bit of that reassurance if you are that sad right now with Ruby Gillman, where, yeah, it's not looking great right now, but you never know if maybe it'll find its audience later in the future. And with that said, I would just like to say also to those Ruby Gillman fans, maybe consider not watching my review, because maybe you won't like with what I'll have to say about the film. Oh boy. But anyways, yeah, that is entirely my comment on this entire situation with Ruby Gillman. So now I would like to go and pass on to the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about Ruby Gillman having the worst opening ever for a DreamWorks animation movie? And especially if you have seen Ruby Gillman, I would like to know your thoughts on the news. Let me know what you think on that. Let's see. I watched this movie in early screenings, and while I think it's okay, it didn't deserve to be a box office bomb and do worse than Elemental. I blame Universal's poor marketing and release date, as if Universal is trying to sabotage an original film in the first place, which also plays a downfall given that it's an original film. It makes Disney's marketing on Elemental a masterpiece than this, so the Disney versus Universal rival in animation has to die now. or I think it's honestly dead on arrival. It's already been dead. It's like, this is a thing that it's only been done by toxic animation fans in the cartoon community that doesn't actually understand what's going on behind the scenes or how animation actually does work, or especially that they don't care about the animators behind it. They only care about the product that is only right in front of them, because honestly, like, toxic animation fans, or especially Disney haters, they seriously lack object permanence. Let's see what else we got here. I went and saw Ruby Gillman a couple of days ago, and while I find it pretty mid, I can't help but feel a little bad for it. It kind of feels like Universal set that film up to fail, considering how its marketing had everything going against it. I mean, we're talking about Strange World levels of bad marketing, especially with the Chelsea twist. I'll cap it off saying that to give it a watch if you haven't already. Maybe you'll go get more enjoyment out of it than I did. I mean, yeah, who knows? Like, I mean, I think it's safe to say that Ruby Gillman is not the best animated feature out there. It's certainly no Nimona. It's no Spider-Verse. And I wouldn't even say, like, it's definitely weaker than Elemental, I think. But still, that doesn't mean it's not worth watching. At least, like, see it once and, like, at least have your own opinion on it. So, I'm just saying. Let's see now. I did watch Ruby Gillman on Friday, and I thought it was pretty decent and a lot of fun to watch. Very colorful, I must add to my praise. It's not as good as the other DreamWorks films, but it was fun to watch. Reasons why I watch it in theaters is because I want to support my colleagues in the industry that worked on this. It's amazing how supportive the industry are. Love them so much. They are like family to me. Exactly, man. Like, and in the animation industry, animators support all animators. Even the animators of Spider-Verse, they want to see something like Elemental or Ruby Gillman to go and succeed. And even the people at Pixar or Disney, they want to see films like Mario and Spider-Verse to go and succeed as well. There's none of that stupid rivalry. Like, honestly, the only people who do that rivalry amongst animation studios are the idiotic cartoon community people. Like, it's only them that would go and do so just to go and like try to enable their biases, you know? It's like really feeding onto the, you know, trying to mask their insecurities. Let's see. I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Let's see now. Ruby Gillman was sent out to Rod. There's no doubt about that. But if I can add anything why it flops, the marketing that they put out basically shows you the entire film and nothing interesting to pull in people to see it in theaters, and just wait for the VOD and Netflix. While Spider-Verse and Elemental are getting really leggy at the box office right now, to the point where the latter beats the former with updated forecasts due to word of mouth. I don't think this Kraken will get lucky at the box office. Exactly, folks. And now we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do return, speaking of toxic communities on social media, we will have a bit of a discussion on what recently happened on social media, because, oh boy, once again, we are in another episode of complete chaos that has been happening on Twitter. And we are back. And by the way, I like from one of the comments that I've seen that I haven't read about the Ruby Gillman story, apparently someone also mentioned that in 2 weeks from now, Ruby Gillman will actually be released digitally. Yeah, well, honestly, I don't think I phrased my words correctly. But yeah, Ruby Gillman apparently in 2 weeks is going to be released digitally. Like, you could go and watch it at home. So yeah, like it almost does feel like Universal is kind of doing that on purpose to make Ruby Gillman fail. But anyways, moving on to our next story, we're going to go and discuss about something that happened during the weekend, because oh my god, I did not expect this thing to go and immediately happen. Like, I remember it was during Canada Day, and it was when, like, I was honestly celebrating with my friends. You know, we were having fun, and and often I would casually just scroll through Twitter about what the fridge was happening. But then I saw a massive change that has occurred, and a serious calamity that has been going on, in which it brought back the whole trend of people saying that Twitter is dying. So what is it this time? What is it that caused that caused people to say that this is the end of Twitter? Well, if you do need a reason as to why is it that now it seems like once again Twitter might be ceased to exist in the near future, it's because of the rate limits. Yes, this weekend, Elon Musk has announced that Twitter is going to go and put in a rate limit to how many posts that you can go and look at on a daily basis. In fact, Elon actually stated that the reason why that Twitter is doing this, reading from my source on the BBC, he stated that it was because of extreme levels of data scraping and system manipulation. Now, to Twitter and Musk's credit, it is true that this can be quite a serious problem. In fact, to go and describe why it would be considered pretty bad, it is actually because of this little piece right over here. It is not totally clear what Mr. Musk is referring to by data scraping, but it appears he means that scraping of large amounts of data used by artificial intelligence, AI, companies to train large language models, which power chatbots such as OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Bard. In simple terms, data scraping is the pulling of information from the internet. Large language models need to learn from masses of real human conversation, but the quality is vital to its success of a chatbot. Reddit and Twitter's huge troves of billions of posts are thought to be hugely important training data and used by AI companies. So because of that, and because this seems to be a massive issue, Musk has revealed that they're going to do a temporary fix where they're going to go and put in a limit to how many posts that you could see on a daily basis. Now, this would depend on different levels. If you are a verified user or you have purchased Twitter Blue, then you would be allowed to watch, or you would be allowed to see 6,000 posts a day. Whereas if you are a unverified user, which is the grand majority of people on Twitter, then you would be only allowed to see 600 posts per day. And if you are a new unverified user, then you would only be allowed to see 300 posts a day. Now, that ended up receiving massive backlash. Like, everybody was hating the new limits, and like it almost felt like immediately people were just blocked off from seeing anyone else's posts because they already hit their rate limit. And I remember even back then, like, that's how I discovered it. It was because like, oh, okay, I surpassed my rate limit. I can no longer see any more posts that's going on right now. So as a result, Elon Musk had to go and completely change things up in terms of how many posts people could see so that it could be a lot more usable in the future, as long as they still have that temporary limit. Where now he changed it up so that verified users and Twitter Blue subscribers, they could see up to 10,000 posts per day. And for non-verified users, they can only see 1,000 posts per day. And new unverified users, they can only see up to 500 posts per day. So a little bit more manageable, but it is still incredibly annoying that you would actually have this kind of limit. And for some people, it can be extremely frustrating. And that is why, because of those limits, because people have to keep on dealing with that, that's why we see more and more people that are saying right now that Twitter is soon going to cease to exist, that Twitter will no longer be a viable source as a social media or a viable way that people could go and get news, where we are slowly but surely seeing a little bit of a mass exodus that is going on. That is why right now, if you go on Twitter or you go on social media, you'll find that there is an increasing amount of people that are starting to go and open up new accounts on other websites that are similar to Twitter, such as, people making new Mastodon accounts, or especially, I've seen a lot more people using Blue Sky, where now we are seeing, just today, I have seen accounts from popular celebrities like Ken Jennings and Guillermo del Toro, in which they have revealed now they have officially opened up a Blue Sky account. And even for me, myself, I have yet to do anything yet, but I am starting to consider maybe I should go and actually create a backup account. And that's the thing that's going on right now. Like, the future is absolutely uncertain right now with Twitter, but now people are creating backups and are being more serious about having those accounts just in case things actually do go south to right now with Twitter. And the crazy thing is that right now, even if they would go and describe the situation with the fact that, oh, well, it's because of data scraping and stuff like that, a lot of people are calling out Elon into saying that this is not actually the case. In fact, there was one post that actually exposed it as to why is it that it's actually not true. And it's actually this right over here from a user by the name of Ruben Safaya, who is actually a data analyst manager. And he stated, our tech stack is on an AWS S3 cluster. Let me explain in plain English for y'all for how absolutely BS Elon's claim is. First, you don't prevent scraping by cutting off your own app's access to its own database. However, let's say you are on a huge platform on AWS like Twitter is, and you aren't paying your bills. The first thing they're going to do is meter your usage, and then they're going to throttle your usage. So what Elon is really admitting is that he didn't pay his freaking Amazon bill. And I'm not gonna lie, folks, I honestly find this to be more credible than what Elon would go and say, because let's be honest, Elon Musk is an infamous pathological liar. Like, whatever comes out of his mouth, it's most likely untrue than it is true. In fact, like, his business revolves around lying to make sure things go his way and lying to give himself a good positive image. You probably remember the news in regards to how people were abandoning or especially advertisers were abandoning Twitter because of the increasing amount of hate speech. And then suddenly Elon was saying like, oh yeah, no, business is going better than ever. All those advertisers came back to me. Now Twitter is doing better than it ever was before. But then later on, it was actually revealed that it was a flat out lie, where not only did those advertisers not come back, but now there's even less than there was before, where now it's over half of half of the advertisers that used to be on Twitter before Elon Musk took over, they've all abandoned it. And even in this right over here, I don't really think it really is the case of data scraping and system manipulation, which, yeah, it can be a real issue, but I don't think it actually is the main cause. Because another thing is that Elon Musk with Twitter, he has an infamous reputation as well of not paying the bills. You've probably heard the reports again and again and again where he just decides not to go and pay the bills for Twitter's offices around the globe. For some reason, he thinks it's like some kind of clever cost-saving tactics to just not pay the bills, to just not give the landlords the money. Just keep it for yourself and use that for other things. Just say no to paying money to others. Apparently, that way it's the best way to go and save up money. And that's why right now with Elon, he is in critical trouble, and he actually has a few court cases right now where he's going against those landlords for not paying the bills for the offices. In fact, just before he did that rate limit, there was actually a report that came out that revealed that Elon was not only not paying Amazon, but he was also not paying Google. And it was from there that we see many people making that connection where it's because he's not really paying the bills to go and keep Twitter alive as a platform that now he has no choice but to go and apply to these rate limits. And I will admit that Technically, yes. How it is right now, it's a little bit better than how it was before. But the fact alone that there even is a rate limit in the first place, this really does, like, so far, this is the closest thing that we have ever gotten to Twitter having a full-on paywall. That you can only have a certain amount of posts that you could go and read on a daily basis, no matter where the source would be. And if you hit that limit, that's Twitter pretty much telling you, oh, well, if you want to go and see more, then you have to wait a little bit, or you pay for a Twitter Blue so that you could see even more posts and not really worry much about a rate limit from there. Like, that's what it really sounds like. It's just this little scam for people to go and pay for Twitter Blue. And that, like, honestly, no, like, for now, like, for casual, like, for now, it doesn't seem that much of a problem. That definitely is true. But imagine those people who really are obsessed with Twitter, like people who follow, like, thousands upon thousands of people on social media, and that they would keep on scrolling through it. Eventually, they would go and immediately cap off their limit within, like, an hour or two, and that's it. And that's why, with stuff like this going on, like I said before, this is why we are seeing more people being serious, trying to go and develop a backup account on other websites, whether it be on Mastodon or Blue Sky or Tumblr, in case things don't go well with Twitter. Because now it feels like more and more there is an increased possibility that, yeah, maybe Twitter might shut down, actually. I know some people, like, I kept on saying that, and it has often sound like a hyperbole because it hasn't actually happened just yet. But the fact alone that there is a rate limit, no matter how many, like, no matter what the amount is, the fact alone that there is a rate limit, that is a critical problem, and that is a massive sign that the future of Twitter is becoming more and more uncertain. The more that it feels like people are just gonna abandon ship, that there is no hope, or that there's no more money left, or there's no energy left for Twitter to remain alive. And that's why people have to go and move out. And even for me, honestly, I feel like maybe after this, I should seriously consider trying to go and create a Blue Sky account. If anyone, by the way, if anyone who has a Blue Sky account would want to send me like an invite or something, I will go and gladly take it, because honestly, we are at the point where we have to go and consider to go and pick up a Twitter backup in case things actually do go south. With what's been going on with Twitter, yeah, that is a very negative sign. And the fact that nowadays we are seeing more and more people just bailing out of it, and not to mention some of the other updates that they have done as well, because now a new thing occurred in which you are not allowed to access Twitter without signing in. Like, you must go and have an account. So it's not like you could go onto a random article and then you would go and click something. Actually, let me go and test that. I want to see if I could go and try this out. Like, if you want to go and double check on a tweet, like apparently they even mentioned Elon Musk's own tweet that I could go and check out. I'll go and click on the link. I'll see if they can actually open it. So yeah, you could go, so you go on here. Okay, there's the Twitter logo. Actually, okay, no, something is not right, actually, because, oh no, okay, finally, okay, it is loading. So can I actually see the tweet? Just want to double check. Oh, nope, something went wrong. Okay, yeah, there's a problem over here. Okay, so as you can see, I cannot see Elon Musk's tweet because I am not logged in. And that, you know, and that's another critical thing that a lot of people are saying that is a massive problem, because now, because you must sign in onto Twitter, that means there are going to be less people who are going to see the ads, which makes it less viable for Twitter to be a place to go and present your ads. So more and more, it feels very much likely that there may not be a Twitter happening in the near future. Or especially now with the fact that people are making backup plans, that Twitter will become increasingly unpopular, and that people are ultimately going to go and bail out of Twitter in favor of using other social media apps, that they would rather go and use stuff like Blue Sky or Mastodon or Tumblr or whatever whatever backup that they would go and use. So overall, it's just something that I want to go and immediately comment, because it's like now we have entered upon a brand new ridiculous chapter with what's going on at Twitter. Like, honestly, I don't know if this is going to be something that would be like the final nail in the coffin of it. I'm sure there are probably a few more nails before that can actually be achieved. But this alone, the fact that Elon even did this in the first place is such a critical blow to Twitter. Like, it is such a critical blow to the future of Twitter, to the future of people using Twitter. And it's now becoming less and less of a viable option as a social media app. So in that regard, like, even for me, I think honestly, I might end up using Twitter a little bit less, and I'll just be more in favor of like moving on to like Blue Sky or Tumblr or something else. Like, let me know, like, which one would you rather see me in? Like, like, if there was only one that you would want to see me instead of Twitter, would it be on Blue Sky, on Mastodon, or on Tumblr? But anyways, with that said and done, now that I have said my little opinion on it, I would love to know in the chat wall, what do you all think about this entire Twitter scenario? Have you been facing problems with the rate limit? What do you think is going to happen in the future with Twitter? Let me know what you all think on that. Let's see. Elon, what have you done with Twitter again? I first thought it was a bug problem, but I later found out he's just not paying those damn bills because he thinks, oh, I think it'll be great not to do it. Bruh, really? It's just depressing that Twitter is like this through the weekend. I still got a Mastodon account just in case if the platform really is starting to crumble. Okay, maybe it's a false alarm. Sorry, I thought I was about to sneeze. But anyways, I still got, Elon Muskrat really needs to touch some grass. And you know, that's the irony of it. Like, that was Elon's response over the backlash of these rate limits. Like, Elon was just telling people, well, why don't you go touch grass? Oh yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go and touch grass. Let's go and do anything but support your business. Let's do anything but use your social media platform. Yeah, great call, Elon. What a great strategy. What a great businessman, telling people to not support his business and to do anything else but to go and fuel his social media platform. Real smart there, man. Real smart. Anyways, once again, Elon makes another screw up towards Twitter again over rate limits that makes it impossible for Twitter users in having those accounts. I don't know how many more times I need to hear this, but this is bonkers once again. By the way, I never heard of Blue Sky's social media account, not to be confused with the defunct animation studio, but I might get on board with that account if it is Twitter, but better. So I might create an account on Blue Sky if Twitter is gone. Yeah, and like I said, there's more and more prominent people that have joined in. Like Guillermo del Toro now has a Blue Sky account. But I will say though, like, some people are saying that you need an invite in order to create a Blue Sky account. So I don't know, like eventually later today, I'll go and ask for that invite, and then I'll go and create an account from there. Let's see. I think I speak for all Twitter users when I ask, who the hell is this update for? Like, seriously, who? It doesn't benefit general users. It doesn't even favor the Twitter Blue users, since they'll eventually reach the rate limit as well. This is an utterly boneheaded decision that ultimately benefits nobody. What's next? Is Musk going to buy Earth and limit how many breaths people take per day? Do you see the asininity here? Exactly, man. I mean, like, no, like, even if this is temporary, the fact that you are putting in a rate limit in the first place, even if it is for like only a few days, is a very negative sign that shows that Twitter is dying, that it is losing money by the minute, and that Elon is just way too stubborn to actually do the right thing and to actually go and pay those bills. Like, seriously, to all those people that think that I'm exaggerating of the fact that Twitter is dying, I mean, look at this right now. If I would tell you that Twitter is going to go and do something like limit the amount of posts that you would see per day, you would think I'm crazy. You would think, you would think I'm like some kind of exaggerating conspiracy theorist and that I would wear a tinfoil hat and I'm trying to sell too hard on the fact that Elon is a bad business person and just an idiotic human being overall. Like, you would think I'm doing a hyperbole, but that's not the case. This is reality right now. And that's why people are considering backup plans in case Twitter does go south, because we are in a reality where, yes, it is possible that there may not be a Twitter by the end of this year. Let's see now. What else do we have? You'd think one of the richest men in the entire world could do something as simple as paying your taxes, but somehow it doesn't even cross his mind. Every single day just seems to give people more and more reasons to jump off Twitter after this extremely stupid decision. Or, you can use Opera GX that just released a patch that removes the rate limit for Twitter users. Hashtag not sponsored. I mean, that could be an option, but then again, you have to consider, like, that would only work for people who would use Twitter on a desktop. What about for people who use it on a phone, which is the vast majority of people? They would not really have any extensions that they could include onto the app. So really, the rate limit is doing more harm than any good or anything that you can do to go and repair it. Like, it shows that Twitter is beyond broken that anyone could ever expect. Let's see here. I'm really not surprised. I don't think I've ever seen a site crash and burn this quickly. The fact that Elon Musk is so incompetent to the point where Twitter has become this toxic dumpster fire and it's not worth it anymore. And at this rate, I feel like we are starting to see the beginning of the end of Twitter, and very soon, this site may cease to exist. And I'm not gonna lie, folks, I'm kind of rooting for it, actually. I would love to see Twitter just burn down to the ground, because honestly, it kind of deserves it. Oh, let's see. Where else? What are the comments? I think I'll end up reading, I think I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Let's see. I'm so tired of all the never-ending Twitter syncing drama. Not regretting leaving it 3 years ago. Strangely, it reminds me very strongly of that 2015 song by the French singer Stromae called Carmen, about the foreshadowing dangers of Twitter were gonna be. Very powerful message indeed. Well, I mean, yes, but, oh wait, I just want to double check on something. If this is what I think it is, I just want to double check if this is, oh yes, I do recall this actually. Hold on, quiet ad. Calm down. Okay. No, I just realized something. Yes. Oh my God. Okay. Maybe you have seen this before, because this is actually a really cool music video. And it was actually it was actually animated by Sylvain Chomet. It's actually a really nice one. And it does highlight, yes, that like the dangers of Twitter and stuff like that. And it's actually really cool. And not to mention, the song is actually really awesome. Like even like this part here, I'll give you like a little clip of it. L'amour est enfant de la consommation. Okay, I'll stop right here, because then right afterwards I might end up getting copyright claim, which I want to try to avoid. So yeah, so we did get this. So yeah, honestly, highly recommend you listen to the song Carmen by Stromae. Really awesome song. All right, so with that said though, it is now time that we are gonna go onto our next break, and but the next time we come back from it, we're gonna get, well, from a pretty bad website. Now, this might be some good news, but let's just say what we have coming up might be a little bit of some sus news. And we are back. And as you probably know, with every episode, I go and start things off with a little clip from SpongeBob SquarePants, from one of the more recent episodes, in which you see Patrick being more serious and angry, in which he would say, "Things are gonna get sus." What's that sound effect again? You know, the one in like the Gen Z memes that like there's kind of like this weird explosion meme of like, you know, I'm not doing a sneeze here. It's that weird explosion thing like, yes, the big news that I want to go and talk about here is that Among Us is going to be coming back as an animated series. Yes, the Vine Boom, that's what I'm referring to. That's apparently the official term of that little sound there. But yes, folks, CBS Studios, or specifically CBSI Animation Productions, is going to be teaming up with Innersloth, the independent game studio that created Among Us, to turn their popular game into a full-on animated series. Now, at this point, I just want to go and let you know that we don't necessarily have a whole lot of detail in terms of what's going to be going on with this series. In fact, we don't know when this is going to be coming out or where this is going to be coming out. But what we do know is some of the people that are going to be involved, including the animation studio Titmouse, who are going to be responsible with providing the animation for this entire series. And also, the biggest draw of it, the biggest thing that really is making this turn heads, is the fact that they actually got none other than Owen Dennis, the creator of Infinity Train, to be both the creator and the executive producer of this series. Now, to go a little bit more into who else is going to be involved with this, not only is Titmouse is going to be the animation studio of this series, but along with Dennis, by the way, reading from my source here on Variety, Forrest Willard, Marcus Bromander, and Carl Nessier of Innersloth will also executive produce, along with Chris Prynoski, Shannon Prynoski, Antonio Canobio, and Ben Kalina of Titmouse. No network or streamer is currently attached, but those conversations are said to be ongoing. CBSI Animation Production produces in association with Innersloth. The show is covered by the Animation Guild rather than the WGA. And by the way, that is another thing that I would like to say, or probably the biggest problem with what I have over here, and that is regarding the fact that they would rather go and be with the Animation Guild instead of the Writers Guild of America, especially when it comes to the writing side of things, because this is a clear decision that they just want to go with it, and this is often considered a massive problem with the Animation Guild, in which the compensation that writers get for working on an animated show is only a fraction compared to what the WGA would get when they would work on a live action show. And not to mention that with the Animation Guild, you don't get any residuals, you don't get royalties with the work that you have made. So honestly, that's the one thing that I do condemn CBS Studios to actually do. You know, honestly, it's a bit disappointing to see that they, like, even with all these strikes that are going on, that they are still doing like these very cheap tactics of trying to lowball their employees, and it kind of really highlights the reason why these strikes are still going on. And honestly, it kind of makes me feel like maybe the Animation Guild should actually consider joining along with the WGA onto those strikes, because they should, like, honestly, writers for animated shows or animated movies, they should have the same compensation as they would with any other movie that is attached with the Writers Guild of America. I'm just saying. So I just want to go and emphasize on that. But anyways, yes, we are getting an Among Us animated series. Now, I will say at first, this does seem like a little bit of a weird idea, and maybe not necessarily something that sounds like, oh, cool, let's be on board with it, because I know that with Among Us, it was very popular during its time, especially during the pandemic era. Like, everybody was going crazy for Among Us. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever really played Among Us, but I've definitely seen so many YouTubers who have played Among Us. Like, I've watched Game Grumps played Among Us, I watched Markiplier play Among Us, I watched Jacksepticeye play Among Us, like, you know, I've seen Ethan Nestor play Among Us. Like, there are so many people like who would play Among Us. Like, it was the popular thing that people would do on social media or even on YouTube in general, that they would just go and play Among Us. And there was at one point that it was the #1 video game of that time, to the point that it bursted out a whole bunch of merchandise. And I'm not gonna lie, I'll even admit there was even one Halloween, I think a year or two ago, I actually did dress up as an Among Us character. That I actually bought one of those inflatable costumes and I dressed myself up as Among Us just for the laughs of it. But nowadays, though, the time of Among Us has certainly passed, and like with Among Us, it's not as popular as it used to be. I'm sure like people are still playing that game, but like the whole trend of Among Us, the popularity of Among Us, it's not as popular as it was before. I wouldn't be surprised, like even on this episode with the jokes of doing like saying that like things are about to get sus and stuff like that. Like, people are tired of, like, the whole memes and the whole terms that did come from Among Us and stuff like that. So, from there, like, at first, it may not seem like a bit of an appealing idea that right now, where after its prime, that they would go and create an Among Us series. But then, there is the factor of Owen Dennis. The fact that they are bringing in the creator of one of the most beloved shows in recent years, Infinity Train. The fact that after he would get such poor treatment from Warner Brothers, especially with the way that Infinity Train moved on to Max and then end up being scrapped altogether from there, honestly, it really shows from there. Like, I can imagine that Owen Dennis would get a massive cult following, especially with the great success of Infinity Train, and that he would move on to somewhere else. And especially, like, he has definitely proven himself that he could go and create impeccable animated shows, especially with what we have seen with the seasons of Infinity Train. And him moving on to Among Us, where a lot of people have stated that, you know what? This actually does make sense. Because if you are going to go and add a narrative onto Among Us, then you know that there's going to be this prominent theme of sci-fi. There's also going to be a prominent theme of suspense and maybe a bit of character buildup where you want to get into the characters and know who is the imposter and who to trust and stuff like that. Like that is, you know, those are themes that can also be found that can also be found onto Infinity Train. And what Owen Dennis could probably do is that he can make like his own adaptation of The Thing, but make it a little bit more kid friendly. So in that regard, there is that chance that, you know what? Let's CBS cook. Let's see what they can actually do with it. Because if they're going to bring in someone like Owen Dennis, and if he can provide like that same quality that we have seen with Infinity Train, and that he could go and apply that onto Among Us of all things, then it could have a potential to actually be a great show that is worth watching, where like even like with or without the trend being passed and stuff like that, we could legitimately see a comeback of Among Us thanks to the animated show, and that Among Us could actually turn out to be animated icons because of it. So the fact alone that it did bring in Owen Dennis does bring in some great promise. Now, with that said though, where is it going to be released? Like, from there, we don't necessarily have a confirmation of when it's going to be coming out. Like, there is a possibility maybe it's going to be in, like, 2025. That would be my guess. But then again, there's also the factor of where it would be released, because they didn't necessarily confirm if there's going to be a streaming platform or a TV station that's going to go and pick it up. Because they even said that no network or streamer is currently attached to it, but that's what they're currently talking to. And I would just say right now that considering that we are discussing about a show that is brought to us by CBS, I think honestly the safest bet is that it's going to be on Paramount Plus. I don't know if it's going to be that big of a successful show, or if it's going to be that big of a deal that they're going to go and bring this onto something like Nickelodeon. But I feel like the safest bet, it would be on Paramount Plus, so that Paramount could go and handle things, since CBS is owned by Paramount, and that, you know, they would try to go and really promote like their big gamer themed show, because they tried to do what they tried to do that with Halo, and I don't know if that really did work out. I don't know, like honestly, I don't know if it's still going on. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, it didn't work out as massively well as they were hoping for. Like, it turned out not to be Paramount's answer to The Mandalorian, so maybe it could work again with Among Us, who knows? But then again, there is also that possibility that we may see Among Us in other platforms or in other stations as well. That may be... Okay, some people are confirming that apparently it is still ongoing and that Halo is getting a second season. Okay, thank you for the clarification. So at least it is still a bit of a hit. But anyways, well, as I was saying though, there is still that possibility that maybe Among Us could find itself in either like Netflix or Amazon or maybe Apple TV Plus. There is that possibility too. But I feel like my best bet is going to be on Paramount, that they want to go and have some big name shows to be a part of their platform. And I mean, with Among Us, technically it is still considered a pretty popular name in the gaming world, and it still kind of is today, maybe past its prime, but still relatively popular. And especially with the fact that they could say that, hey, come to Paramount Plus, we got the guy who made Infinity Train making an Among Us series. That could be a pretty big draw for some people out there. So in that regard, honestly, I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic on this one. Honestly, that's my that would be my best bet. It's just be cautiously optimistic with what they may do with this, because on one hand, yeah, it's Among Us, and I think people are kind of tired with all the memes and stuff like that, and especially with the game itself. I mean, like, it's past its prime. We want to move on to something new other than Among Us. But then again, this is a new show from Owen Dennis, and if Owen Dennis is going to make a brand new series, then I think it's safe to say that many people are going to go and pay attention to it. So overall, we'll just have to go and wait and see, but I know there is a chance that it's going to turn out to be pretty awesome, so who knows? We're just going to have to be patient and see how they are going to go and do this with Among Us. And by the way, I do want to wish the people at Titmouse and Owen Dennis the best of luck with working on Among Us. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I want to ask you all, how do you feel about this brand new Among Us series? Are you excited for this new show? Are you a little bit iffy about it? Or especially, if you are a fan of Infinity Train, I would love to know what you think on this one. Let's see, what do we have here? This definitely has potential. While I haven't played Among Us myself a lot, aside from the popularity, I think the fact that Owen Dennis is attached to the series, who created a great series like Infinity Train, so this could be interesting, although I am hoping that Owen Dennis will get better treatment with this show than how David Zaslav treated Infinity Train. Oh yeah, definitely. I wish Owen Dennis to do well with Among Us series, as I do love Infinity Train, as his other works, like on Regular Show. Which is actually true, considering that I believe he was a story artist, and I think a writer as well on a Regular Show. Never played the game before, but as long as he doesn't get screwed by the executives, then he might deliver a good series. Let him cook, CBS. Alright, let's see. This show feels like it is way too late to make because Among Us isn't as popular as it was in 2020, but the fact that the studio behind the games are working on it, as well as Owen Dennis being the creator of this show after Infinity Train, which is amazing by the way, is making me want to watch this show. This could be on Paramount Plus, but maybe Nickelodeon, as funny as it sounds. Either way, I'm seeing it when it comes out. Alright, let's see here. I used to play Among Us a lot with my friends at a college activity program. I also saw some jokes from the videos of SMG4 and some gameplay from YouTubers like Dant DM and Jacksepticeye. And with this news, on the other hand, I'm kind of mid about it. It might not be as good of an idea to adapt it, but with Owen Dennis involved, I could see maybe this might have potential. Let's hope that this series will do good when revealed. Also, I heard that Grimace has invaded Among Us, thanks to Valsky Bum. Yeah, with freaking Grimace, oh my god. You know, the funny thing is that I wanted to go and make a meme, I wanted to do my own funny meme of that, like, whole Grimace milkshake thing, and I did one of of like Pinocchio, or at least the classic Pinocchio. And the funny thing is, I felt like it could have been more viral if it weren't for Elon Musk putting in that stupid rate limit bullcrap. Like, it sucks because, like, he messed up my opportunity to have, like, another viral meme going on. I mean, it's still doing well, like, in other platforms like Instagram and Facebook, but still, though, it's like, it was just so frustrating. Like, I have a funny idea I wanted to share with everyone, and a funny thing I want to contribute to the Grimace meme, but then suddenly, nope, it got messed up because Elon Musk failed to pay his bills, and now, like, he's making Twitter, like, go possibly extinct. Let's see, what else do we have here? I can't believe that they are making a show about a mongoose. Boom, joke aside. This whole idea oh, I get what you mean now. This whole idea does sound extremely weird at first, but when you throw in both the creator of Infinity Train and improving reputation of video game adaptations, this feels like it has some potential as a possibility of a great mystery series with the crewmates trying to figure out the imposter with them. Still, I'll be cautiously optimistic like you. Actually, you know what? I do have a little bit of an idea of this, where in a way you could do something a little bit similar to Total Drama Island, where imagine this, in each episode of the season, you can go and eliminate one person, where at the end you have to go and have a big discussion to figure out who is the imposter, and then you have to just throw them out. You know, like you have to sacrifice a full-on character. Oh, that, you know, that would be very interesting to see how they could be engaging. Oh, I can imagine the possibilities now. Let's see, what else do we have here? What other comments? Yeah, I think I might end up reading one more before we move on. Let's see. Oh, the phrase "a day late and $1 short" came in mind when I heard this news. Like you said, Among Us has certainly fallen from its pandemic popularity. People still play it, but not as much as they used to. That being said, Owen Dennis will definitely make something great out of the game, especially because David Zaslav can't kill the show now like how he killed Infinity Train. Now we just need Dana Terrace to make a Don't Starve cartoon. Ah, that could be a possibility too, who knows? All right, so with that said, though, we are going to go into one more break, and then when we do return, we're going to jump from one popular indie game to the next, where they got a very anticipated movie that's coming soon, and a full-on trailer that we are going to go and watch, so stay tuned for that. And now, folks, it is time that we are going to go and cap this episode, and the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale. I think I ended up biting off more than I could chew with adding that extra sentence right there. But anyways, yes, like I said before, we are going to be jumping from one sus indie video game to the next. Another video game phenomenon, which is still pretty popular, but some could say has passed a little bit of its prime. But now, the hype for it has significantly returned, especially now that they are going to be coming back in a brand new form. Not with a video game, but with a brand new feature film. Now, this has been years in the making, and we did see a little bit of a teaser, but now we are going to get much more of a taste with a full-on trailer. Yes, we are starting with a trailer, and we are going to cap this off with a trailer. So, with that said, it is now time that we are going to go and take a look at the new trailer of Five Nights at Freddy's. Yes, folks, that was Five Nights at Freddy's, to which the movie will be released both on the big screen and on Peacock on October 27th. And of course, as you have seen, not only will this be directed by Emma Tammy, but also that they got the disgraced creator of the franchise, Scott Cawthon, writing the story and be a part of the screenplay team. So, oh, and as well as the director as well, helping out with the screenplay too. Now, one thing that I do have to say, and that this is something that I kind of did realize when watching this, because I know that there are a lot of people who are really excited to watch the film adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's, regardless of how the movie is going to be. Like, we all, like, like, honestly, it's not really a matter of, is this movie going to be good or is this movie going to be bad? Because what people really want to go and watch is that they want to see the film version of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters pretty much being like Eustace when he wears his mask going, oh, booga, 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 booga. You know, just doing stuff like that. You know, they're like, you're mainly there just to see the fun little jump scares. But one thing that I will say is that when watching this trailer, I kind of realized a little bit something. And I mean, this, by the way, this is just my opinion. I just want to go and state this, but I feel like, honestly, the more that it shows us of the lore that it wants to present, like the lore that we know from the games and that they're going to go and adapt it onto this Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the more I realize that it's kind of dumb. Like, I know, like, the thing is that if you really do think about it, like, I know that people really got invested in the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, like the whole backstory about how are these children that they went missing and then suddenly their spirits transcended onto the animatronics as like revenge from the cruel creator of the pizzeria and stuff like that. Like, I know, like, you know, there's a lot that would go on in regards to like what happened to these children and stuff. But then when you would think about it in terms of how this would go and work out on a film narrative, a lot of it makes no sense. Like, a lot of it kind of sounds dumb. And especially, I think it's at this point where it kind of made me realize that. It's like, where was it? It's like, when you see like the Bonnie on the sand, it's like somewhere over here, I think. Yeah, like, okay, like just, yeah, it's like over here.
There are ghost children possessing giant robots.
It's like when you do think about it, it's like, yeah, this is kind of dumb, isn't it? It's kind of weird. And not to mention, like, we are talking about Scott Cawthon, which, keep in mind, I don't think the dude ever, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the dude ever really had experience when it comes to writing a full-on feature film. So I don't know how well that's going to really translate onto it. And I mean, like, it does happen with other video games, like video game adaptations as well, where there's not really a whole lot that they can do when it comes to like bringing it onto the big screen. Like, as much as I do love the Mario movie, when it comes to the story, it really did have a lot of difficulties trying to take that narrative that's commonplace in Mario and trying to turn that into like a story for a feature film, which, let's be honest, is one of the weaker points of the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I can imagine it's going to be one of the weaker points over here. But then again, like, this is not meant to be a movie where you want to look at it with a critical eye. Again, you want to see it for the animatronics, which they definitely are going to be delivering it. And like, they want to go and add that sense of danger where now apparently the main character is also bringing in his daughter. And by the way, just to get back into this discussion, that's another thing that honestly, I kind of find that to be a little bit weird. It's like, why the fridge are you bringing your daughter for the night shift at an abandoned pizzeria? Like, there's just so much of that it really sounds like it makes no sense. Maybe there's going to be an explanation on the feature film itself, but from what they are presenting us here, it's like, no, that's just stupid. Like, you're desperate to try to find like a MacGuffin to bring onto the movie. Honestly, like, there's no reason for this girl to be involved with this entire situation. You don't need the girl to be a part of the Five Nights at Freddy's shenanigans. But if I could go and turn this around, there are some positive things that I could say about it too. Like, and one thing I will say is that honestly, the animatronics are pretty funny. Like, there's even at one point, like with the fact that they are very accurate to the games and how they look like, it's funny to see also how there's just a lot of them where like you can tell that like they're just cartoonishly evil. And one of my favorite moments, where was it? Well, like, yeah, like there's even this one part where you see Freddy, it's just there like, stop, bro. You know, just look at the side like, yo, how's it going, bud? But then there's also, but my favorite part though is like the cupcake suddenly getting suspicious eyes. I don't know where the fridge is it, but honestly, that part was so funny. But anyways, maybe I'll find it whenever. But what's also interesting, though, is that not only are you going to be getting the main four, but you're also going to be getting some of the predecessors of those original animatronics, where they even promise that you're also going to be getting Springtrap onto this. Like, Springtrap will also be making an appearance. And then, of course, you got the Golden Freddy, which... you see the little girl, the little girl is partnering up with the abandoned Golden Freddy. So they are also going to be making an appearance as well. So yeah, honestly, I feel like with this trailer, they're kind of showing, like, in a critical sense, it is going to be accurate to the games to a fault. But I will say that I think with that, though, there is going to be that benefit in which people will be having fun too. That I do believe that along with this, people are going to be watching this and they will be enjoying all the references, seeing that come to life. Because again, it's not about watching a good movie. I think in my opinion, there's a more likelihood that this film is going to suck more so than it is actually going to be good. I think it is safe to say that we're not going to see Scott Cawthon getting an Oscar nomination for this work over here, but I think it will be delivering on what people want to see. And I think it's going to be more likely it will be a fun crowd pleaser. It's just going to be for the fun of it, to see all the jump scares, to see all the animatronics come into life and go on a crazy rampage. I think that's going to be the big goal, and I think this will absolutely go and deliver. So, is it going to be good? Is it not? We will have to wait and see. Are people going to have fun with it? Most likely. So if you are interested in checking out Five Nights at Freddy's, then keep in mind it will be coming out on the big screen and on Peacock on, what was it again? Oh yes, on October 27th. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the trailer of Five Nights at Freddy's? Are you guys on board with it? Are you excited to check out this movie? Or do you think it's not really worth it and it's just going to be crap all around? Let me know what you think. Let's see. So it's Willy's Wonderland, but with a bear instead of a weasel. Man, Hollywood is really out of ideas. The animatronics look like something out of the Walden Files, and not on the same level as the Banana Splits movie. The concept might have worked on a video game, though, and I can tell Matt Pat is going to have a lot of theory mileage out of this. Oh, yeah. After the release, expect the end of the year for Matt Pat's videos to be nothing but Five Nights at Freddy's videos. I'm just saying. And, it's kind of funny that with Willy's Wonderland, it's like, yeah, of course it's going to remind you of that, because technically Willy's Wonderland is meant to cash in on the success of Five Nights at Freddy's. Let's see now. While I'm not a huge fan, this trailer is impressive, the visuals look great, and stay true to the games, and the animatronics look amazing, so this could be a lot of fun. Also, with Springtrap in the movie, I'm wondering if this is just going to be William Afton in a costume, and by the end of the teaser, a sequel, he'll get spring-locked and fully become Springtrap. I mean, there is a possibility. There is that too. And that is one thing that it is true. I will give it that it is a very nice looking movie. And I think the ones who deserve the biggest credit is the Jim Henson Company, since they are the people that actually did make the costumes and the animatronics of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters. And one thing I will say, speaking of William Afton, it's actually interesting because maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if it is the case that, like, is Shaggy not playing as William Afton? Because you see him at his office, and he has like this, he has this label where it says that apparently his name is Steve Raglan, a career counselor. So I don't know, like, maybe there was that plot twist where it turns out he is William Afton, or maybe not, but I don't know. It seems rather strange. But if it is really the case that that Matthew Lillard is actually playing a guy named Steve and is not William Afton, I can imagine how some people might be a bit disappointed. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm just saying, people are gonna riot if Matthew Lillard is not William Afton. Oh, let's see what else we have here. I still think it's gonna be a dumb movie, not like a super dumb movie. I know it's gonna be promised that the trailer is set up to be, but as long as it delivers on that promise, then it should be fine. As long as I see Shaggy / Stu Macher go crazy, then I'm down for it. Let's see what else we got. This film looks so dumb that I want to see it on the big screen with an audience, in this case with Five Nights at Freddy's. I barely played the game, but I know the kids love it, and I get why. I grew up with places like Chuck E. Cheese and other pizzeria places, and I like the puppets. I think I'll have a blast with it, rather it be good or bad. If it's bad, then it better be like The Room. Oh yeah, honestly, I could really imagine that this is going to be the kind of feature that really, it's the kind you want to bring in like with a wild audience, you know? You want to be a part of that rowdy crowd who just freaks out, and then like you're just got like there's going to be one moment that's going to be so tragic, and everyone in unison is going to shout out, "Is that the bite of 87?" Like that's the kind of movie that you want to see with a crazy crowd. You want to be a part of that kind of audience with it. I mean, it's not like it's not going to be the kind where you're going to watch it like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Nimona or anything like that. Let's see what else we have here. I played a little of FNAF, but I stopped because because I wasn't too comfortable with the jump scares they had. But I remember watching gameplay videos from the Annoying Orange gameplay channel and some like Ratchet, Noble Wolf, and Markiplier. This trailer, on the other hand, does look dope. Freddy and the other animatronics stay true to how they look in the game, but I feel like it's not going to do well with critics. Also, still waiting on AniMat's watches on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Don't worry, it will. Don't worry. That is going to be a thing. I will promise you that. Like, I'm just thinking maybe it would make a great Halloween video. Like, yeah, it may, like, I know it's going to take some time, but I'm honestly waiting until Halloween because I feel like it would be the perfect atmosphere to go and release that video, especially like watching like that kind of horror movie, you know? Hopefully you don't mind like the patience, but I can promise you there will indeed be an AniMat's watches of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I just feel like, you know, might sound best as a Halloween video. Anyways, where are we up to? Am I expecting this to be an amazing movie? Probably not. But is this going to be a fun movie? Most likely. While the story doesn't seem that great, the animatronics just look incredible, especially with capturing the look of Springtrap, and it does feel like the fun kind of dumb. And Matt, if you think the movie itself seems dumb, then you haven't seen the amount of retcons and crazy stunts that Scott added for each game. Well, I mean, I have seen a little bit. Like, I didn't follow the entire way through. I think I stopped following the whole thing after Five Nights at Freddy's 4, honestly. Or maybe after or not even. I think it's like what's the I think it's like the second series of the game. What was it, like open management or something like that? Like the other one with the other characters, you know, with the I forgot their names already, but with the little girl, with the ballerina, with the other foxy female character, like yeah, Sister Location. I think I stopped following it after the first Sister Location, but I am aware there's a lot of crazy things. But safe to say that Universal and Blumhouse, they want to make a franchise out of it, and I think we will see film adaptations of those characters as well. All right, I think I'm gonna go and cap this off with one more comment. So let's see. Man, I can't wait to see Freddy and the gang going on a rampage on the big screen. As someone who only played the first two games, this might look like a lot of fun. Am I excited? Am I expecting this to be a good movie? No, but I do think it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, I like the cameo of Corey X Kenshin at the end of the trailer. Are we going to get a Markiplier cameo as well with this movie? I guess we will have to wait and see. Again, it will only come out at the end of October, so stay tuned for that. And with that said, that should do it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this. And again, don't forget about the new merch on AniMat's gift shop at animats-gift-shop.creator-spring.com. And also, if you want to go and follow me more on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to subscribe to me or subscribe onto my Twitch channel or onto my YouTube channel with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And also don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Google, Amazon, or iTunes. And so with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.